Amanda and Tom had been married for 5 years, and like any couple, they had their ups and downs. Amanda, a vibrant and ambitious black woman, had recently climbed the corporate ladder to become the marketing director at a well-known firm. Her success was the result of relentless hard work and a sharp mind that could cut through the toughest business challenges. She was proud of her achievements, which had not only brought her professional satisfaction, but also financial stability to her household. Tom, on the other hand, found himself in a starkly different situation. Once a middle manager at a small tech startup, he had lost his job 6 months ago due to company downsizing. Since then, his days had been a mix of job hunting and freelance gigs, but nothing permanent had come his way. The contrast in their professional lives had slowly begun to seep into their personal relationship, creating a rift that was becoming harder to ignore. Despite their love for each other, the stress of unemployment had changed Tom. He had always been supportive of Amanda's career, but as months passed without a job offer, his support waned, replaced by a bitterness that neither of them had anticipated. Amanda, ever the optimist, tried to encourage him, assuring him that something would turn up. Yet, as the sole breadwinner now, she felt the weight of their financial stability on her shoulders, a responsibility that was both empowering and exhausting. Their home, once a haven of love and laughter, echoed with arguments more often than not. The discussions usually centered around finances, with Amanda taking on more of the bills and expenses. Tom felt emasculated, unable to contribute as he once had, which only fueled his frustration. He missed being the provider, a role he had taken pride in, and now felt sidelined in his own life. The tension reached a boiling point one morning over breakfast when Tom sarcastically thanked Amanda for taking care of the bills yet again. His tone, laced with a mix of sarcasm and resentment, stung Amanda. She replied sharply, reminding him that she did what was necessary for both of them. The air between them was charged with unsaid words and stifled emotions, setting the stage for an anniversary dinner that was supposed to be a celebration of their union, but was looming on the horizon like a storm waiting to break. As they prepared for the evening, both knew that this was not just any dinner. It was a test of their resilience as a couple, a moment to either bridge the gap or widen it further. Neither wanted to give up on the other, but with every passing moment, the challenge seemed more daunting. They left for the restaurant with a silent prayer, hoping the night would bring them closer, not tear them further apart. As the day of the anniversary dinner approached, Amanda tried to push aside the tension and focus on her work. She was in the middle of a major marketing campaign that could potentially bring in several new clients. Her mind was a whirlwind of advertisements, strategies, and meetings, but underneath it all, she carried a simmering worry about the evening ahead. Tom, aware of the importance of the day, decided to put his best foot forward. He spent the morning browsing job listings and sending out applications, hoping to share some good news with Amanda that could lighten the mood. By noon, he had secured an interview for a promising position later in the week. This small victory lifted his spirits, and he began to plan how he would make the evening special for both of them. He picked out a nice suit to wear, one that Amanda had gifted him on his last birthday. He wanted to look his best, to show her that he was trying, that he wasn't just sitting back and letting her carry them. Meanwhile, Amanda decided to leave work early to prepare for the evening. She chose a beautiful dress that made her feel confident and elegant, a stark contrast to how she felt on the inside. As they got ready in their separate corners of their home, the air was filled with a cautious optimism. Maybe, just maybe, this dinner could mark a new beginning, a chance to reconnect and remember why they had fallen in love in the first place. They arrived at the restaurant, a place filled with memories of previous celebrations. The ambience was perfect, soft lighting, gentle music, and a cozy table set for two. As they sat down, they exchanged tentative smiles, each acknowledging the effort the other had made. The dinner began with a toast to their years together. Tom expressed his hopes for the future, his voice carrying the sincerity that Amanda hadn't heard in a long time. She responded with equal warmth, her words tinged with an emotion that was a mixture of hope and anxiety. They talked about everything but the elephant in the room, their recent conflicts. Instead, they reminisced about their honeymoon in Hawaii, the weekend trips they used to take when they were dating, and the little inside jokes that only they understood. For a while, it felt like the old times, when happiness was an easy guest at their table. But as the evening wore on, the conversation inevitably shifted towards their current situation. Tom mentioned his job interview, trying to keep the tone light, but the underlying stress was palpable. Amanda, wanting to be supportive, congratulated him, but her mind raced with thoughts about bills, responsibilities, and the fear of what might happen if things didn't change. The meal was delicious, each course better than the last, but the real test of the evening was still to come. As they moved on to dessert, the tension that had receded into the background began to creep back in. Tom's earlier feelings of inadequacy surfaced as he watched Amanda pay the bill, a gesture that was both necessary and emasculating for him. The scene was set for an incident that would test their relationship like never before. The night air was crisp as Amanda and Tom walked into the restaurant, greeted by the maitre d' with a polite nod and a warm smile. The place was elegantly decorated, with soft golden lights hanging from the ceiling, casting a gentle glow on the polished wooden tables. Soft classical music played in the background, adding a touch of romance to the ambience. They were led to a secluded table by the window with a view of the city lights twinkling in the distance. As they settled into their seats, the waiter approached with two menus, his movements smooth and professional. He recited the specials for the evening with enthusiasm, each dish sounding more tantalizing than the last. Amanda and Tom listened, occasionally glancing at each other with a mix of excitement and nervousness about the meal ahead. They started with a shared appetizer, a plate of grilled calamari served on a bed of lightly dressed greens. The calamari was cooked to perfection, tender and flavorful, with a hint of lemon that brightened the entire dish. As they ate, they found themselves relaxing, the delicious food helping to melt away some of the tension between them. For the main course, Amanda chose a seared salmon fillet with a side of asparagus and mashed potatoes, while Tom opted for the steak, medium rare, with a peppercorn sauce and roasted vegetables. As they waited for their entrees, they sipped on white wine, its crisp freshness perfectly complementing the anticipation of the meal to come. The conversation turned to lighter topics, movies they wanted to see, books they were reading, and plans for the upcoming holidays. It was a conscious effort on both their parts to steer clear of anything too heavy or contentious. They laughed a little easier, and for moments at a time, the stress of their recent struggles seemed to drift away. When the main courses arrived, they were presented beautifully. Amanda's salmon was a vibrant pink in the center, with a golden crust, and Tom's steak was just as he liked it, with a charred exterior giving way to a juicy, pink middle. They exchanged bites of their meals, praising each other's choices and enjoying the flavors that were so thoughtfully prepared. As they ate, Tom couldn't help but notice the care with which Amanda handled the evening. She was trying, just as he was, to make the night a success despite everything that had been weighing them down. This realization softened his heart a bit, reminding him of the many reasons he had fallen in love with her. The dinner was nearing its end, and dessert was on the horizon. They decided to share a chocolate lava cake, a nod to their first anniversary when they had devoured a similar dessert. The cake, when it arrived, was rich and molten, its warm chocolate center oozing onto the plate, paired with a scoop of vanilla ice cream melting slowly alongside. As they dug into the dessert, the sweetness seemed to fill some of the gaps that had formed between them, offering a temporary but welcome respite from their challenges. However, the underlying issues were still there, lingering like the last pieces of cake on the plate, waiting to be addressed. It was in this setting, a mix of old affections and new anxieties, that the night took a turn, setting the stage for an incident that would leave an indelible mark on their relationship. As the final course of their anniversary dinner concluded, Tom and Amanda lingered over their shared dessert, the chocolate lava cake. The rich, warm chocolate spilled from the center, blending with the cool vanilla ice cream, creating a perfect mix of temperatures and flavors on their plates. They laughed softly, reminiscing over a shared memory of a past celebration that had also ended with a dessert just like this one. It was a brief moment where they both reached across the table, their fingers brushing, a silent acknowledgement of their shared history and perhaps a hope for more gentle moments like this. However, the peace was fragile. As they finished their dessert, the waiter brought over the bill, placing it discreetly next to Tom. Automatically, Amanda reached for it, her action both reflexive and considerate. Knowing that Tom had been sensitive about their financial situation lately, Tom watched her, his face clouding over. The gesture, meant to be kind, inadvertently reminded him of his current unemployment and the many arguments it had spurred. Amanda sensed his mood shift and paused, her hand on the bill, her heart sinking as she realized her mistake. She tried to recover, suggesting half-jokingly, "Why don't you get this one? And I'll take the next," hoping to lighten the mood. But the damage was done. Tom's feelings of inadequacy surged to the forefront, overtaking his reasoning. The stress of the past months, his struggle to find a stable job, and his perception of failing in his role as a provider compounded in that moment. Feeling cornered and humiliated, he reacted impulsively. Picking up a piece of the remaining cake with his fork, he flicked it towards Amanda, an act driven by frustration and the desperate need to assert some control over the situation. The piece of cake landed on Amanda's dress, a stark, dark blot on the light fabric. The restaurant, filled with the soft murmur of other diners, fell into a stunned silence at the sudden action. Amanda sat frozen, shock registering on her face as she looked down at the stains spreading over her beautiful dress. Tom immediately regretted his action, the sight of Amanda, so dignified and hurt, snapping him back to reality. He muttered an apology, but the words felt hollow and inadequate. Around them, diners watched, some with open disapproval, others with embarrassed glances away from the couple's table. Amanda's initial shock gave way to a composed calm. She stood, excusing herself to the restroom without a word. Tom watched her go, her poised departure a sharp contrast to his petty outburst. He sat back, a mix of shame and unresolved anger simmering within him. In the restroom, Amanda faced herself in the mirror. She dabbed at the stain, her actions mechanical. The night that was supposed to celebrate their love had showcased one of their lowest moments instead. She steadied her breath, the reflection in the mirror showing a woman determined not to let this night define her or their future. With a final glance at her composed reflection, she prepared herself to return to the table, ready to address the situation with a clear head and a firm heart, unaware that her next move would shift the course of their evening dramatically. After spending a few minutes in the restroom gathering her thoughts and composure, Amanda returned to the table where Tom sat waiting, looking both regretful and apprehensive. She approached with a calm and measured stride, her posture upright, reflecting a strength that belied the emotional turmoil she felt inside. As she sat down, the tension at the table was palpable, with nearby diners pretending to focus on their own meals, yet casting curious glances their way. Amanda looked directly at Tom, her eyes clear and resolute. "Tom," she began, her voice steady but soft enough so only he could hear. "What happened just now can never happen again." Her tone was not accusatory but firm, setting the boundaries that needed to be respected. Tom's face fell, the gravity of his impulsive act sinking in deeper with her words. "I know, Amanda. I am truly sorry," Tom replied, his voice low, filled with remorse. "I let my frustrations get the better of me, and that was unfair to you. It was disrespectful and completely out of line." His apology was sincere, and he reached out across the table, hoping she would accept his hand. Amanda considered his words and gesture, her mind racing with conflicting emotions. She appreciated his apology, yet she couldn't shake off the disappointment and embarrassment of the incident. "Thank you for your apology, Tom," she said, maintaining her composure. "I understand that you're going through a tough time, but we must find a better way to communicate our frustrations. We can't let them lead to actions that hurt each other." Tom nodded, agreeing with her. "You're right. I need to handle my feelings more responsibly. I promise to work on that." He looked earnestly into her eyes, hoping to convey his commitment to making things right. Amanda paused, feeling the weight of the decision before her. She knew they were at a crossroads. "Let's take some time to think about how we can support each other better," she suggested. "Maybe it's time we consider seeking help. A counselor could provide us with the tools we need to navigate through this." Tom was taken aback by the suggestion, but realized it might be what they needed. "Okay," he agreed slowly. "If you think that will help us, I'm willing to try." With a mutual understanding reached, Amanda signaled the waiter for the bill once more, this time without any interruption from Tom. She handled the transaction gracefully, reinforcing her earlier stance on taking responsibility, but with a spirit of partnership, not division. As they left the restaurant, the air between them was still charged with the residue of the evening's events, but there was also a sense of tentative hope. Both knew it would take more than a single conversation to heal the wounds of the evening. Yet Amanda's poised handling of the situation and their agreement to seek counseling were first steps toward rebuilding trust and respect in their marriage. Their walk to the car was quiet, each lost in their thoughts about the future. The night had not gone as planned, but it had sparked a crucial conversation, one that might lead them on a path to better understanding and deeper connection. As Amanda and Tom left the restaurant and walked to their car, the chill of the night air felt refreshing, somehow reflective of the cool reset their relationship desperately needed. Once inside the car, the silence was thick, each absorbed in processing the events and their implications. Amanda turned the key in the ignition, but before pulling out, she glanced over at Tom, who looked back with a quiet acknowledgement that they were on the verge of something crucial, either a breakthrough or a breakdown. On the drive home, Tom broke the silence. "Amanda, I know tonight was tough, but I'm glad we talked. I'm serious about making changes," he said earnestly. Amanda nodded, feeling a mix of hope and caution. "I am too. Let's really try to make this work," she responded, her voice carrying a mixture of determination and vulnerability. When they arrived home, they found their living room bathed in the soft glow of the streetlights filtering through the windows, casting long shadows across the floor. The house was quiet, a stark contrast to the tumultuous evening they had just experienced. As they prepared for bed, both felt the weight of the night's promises and the fear of not being able to fulfill them. The next morning, Amanda awoke to find that the video of Tom's cake-throwing incident had gone viral online. A diner at the restaurant had captured the moment on their smartphone, and it had spread across social media platforms overnight. Comments ranged from supportive to critical, with many expressing sympathy for Amanda and condemnation for Tom's actions. Tom was mortified to see himself portrayed as the villain in a viral video. He read through the comments, each one a sting to his already bruised ego. Amanda, seeing the toll it was taking on him, suggested they take a walk to discuss their next steps away from the digital eyes of the world. As they walked through a nearby park, they discussed how to handle the public scrutiny. "We need to address this together," Amanda proposed. "Maybe we can use this as a way to start a conversation about stress and relationships, about the pressures that can lead to such moments." Tom agreed, seeing an opportunity to turn a negative into something potentially positive. "I think that's a good idea. We could help others by being honest about our struggles and how we're planning to overcome them," he said, the idea giving him a sense of purpose. They decided to make a joint statement on social media, explaining the context of the incident and their commitment to working through their issues, both privately and now, unexpectedly, in the public eye. They acknowledged their faults and expressed their intention to seek counseling. The response to their statement was overwhelmingly positive. Many praised their courage for addressing the issue head-on and for being transparent about their journey. It sparked a broader discussion about the importance of communication in relationships and the impact of mental health on marital dynamics. In the following days, as the story continued to circulate, Amanda and Tom felt a sense of relief. They had faced their lowest moment together, and instead of letting it pull them apart, they had used it to build a new foundation. The public's interest in their story eventually waned, but for Amanda and Tom, the real work was just beginning. They attended their first counseling session, committed to learning and growing together, their resolve strengthened by their shared experience and the public's unexpected support. In the days following the viral video, Amanda and Tom found themselves in an unfamiliar position, being the center of a public conversation about relationships, communication, and respect. While some people continued to criticize Tom's actions, others commended the couple for handling the situation maturely and choosing to seek help rather than letting their marriage fall apart. Despite the mixed reactions, Amanda and Tom focused on what truly mattered: their relationship. Their first counseling session was scheduled for the following weekend, and both were nervous about what it would bring. Amanda had never been to therapy before, but she was open to it. Tom, on the other hand, had always believed in solving problems on his own, but recent events had shown him that sometimes outside help was necessary. The night before their first session, they sat together in the living room, the glow of the TV flickering against the walls. "What if counseling doesn't help?" Tom asked, his voice laced with doubt. "What if we just keep going in circles?" Amanda reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. "Then at least we'll know we tried everything. But I believe it will help. We just need to be open and honest." The next morning, they arrived at the counselor's office, a small, cozy space filled with warm lighting and shelves, lined with books on relationships, emotions, and personal growth. Their counselor, a woman named Dr. Ellis, greeted them with a kind smile and invited them to take a seat. The session started with simple introductions before Dr. Ellis asked the first question: "What do you both want to achieve from counseling?" Amanda took a deep breath and spoke first. "I want us to communicate better. I don't want small disagreements to turn into big problems. I love Tom, but I don't want resentment to build between us." Tom listened carefully, then added, "I want to learn how to handle my feelings without taking them out on Amanda. I've been struggling with my own insecurities, and I let that get the best of me. I don't want to be that person." Dr. Ellis nodded, taking notes as they spoke. "It sounds like both of you want the same thing: to rebuild your connection and handle challenges as a team. That's a good place to start." Throughout the session, they unpacked their recent struggles. Tom admitted to feeling lost after losing his job and how that had affected his self-worth. Amanda shared how carrying all the financial responsibility had been stressful, but what hurt her the most was feeling like Tom saw her success as a threat rather than a shared victory. By the end of the session, they had learned valuable techniques for communicating without escalating conflicts. Dr. Ellis gave them small exercises to try at home, ways to express their feelings without anger or defensiveness. As they left the office, a sense of hope settled between them. The road ahead would still have challenges, but for the first time in a long time, they felt like they were walking it together. Over the next few weeks, Amanda and Tom committed themselves to making real changes in their relationship. They attended counseling regularly, practiced the communication exercises Dr. Ellis had given them, and slowly, the tension between them began to ease. Their home, which had once felt filled with unspoken resentment, was beginning to feel warm again, filled with small gestures of care and understanding. Tom put more effort into his job search, not just to ease the financial burden on Amanda, but also to regain a sense of purpose. He started waking up early, setting goals for himself each day, and applying for positions he had previously doubted he could get. Instead of bottling up his frustrations, he talked to Amanda about them. And for the first time in months, he didn't feel like he was carrying his worries alone. Amanda, on the other hand, made a conscious effort to be more patient with Tom. She understood now that his struggles weren't just about money, but about his self-worth. She reminded him often that she believed in him, that they were a team, and that his value in their relationship wasn't measured by his income, but by the effort and love he brought into it. Their viral story continued to circulate online, but instead of shying away from it, they decided to use it as an opportunity for growth. Amanda wrote a heartfelt post about the experience, sharing what they had learned about communication, respect, and overcoming struggles together. The response was overwhelming. Many people reached out, sharing their own relationship difficulties and thanking Amanda for her honesty. Tom, too, received messages from men who admitted they had once let their frustrations turn into anger, and seeing Tom's willingness to change inspired them to do the same. Then, one morning, Tom received an email that made his heart race. It was a job offer, one he had interviewed for weeks ago, but had almost given up hope on. He had been chosen for a management position at a growing tech company, one that valued his experience and saw his potential. Overjoyed, he rushed to tell Amanda, who hugged him tightly, tears of happiness in her eyes. That night, instead of going out to celebrate, they decided to stay in and cook dinner together, something they hadn't done in a long time. As they sat at the dining table, enjoying the simple homemade meal, Tom looked at Amanda with gratitude. "Thank you for not giving up on me," he said sincerely. "And thank you for believing in us." Amanda smiled, reaching across the table to hold his hand. "We still have a long way to go, but as long as we're willing to keep trying, we'll be okay." Their journey had been far from perfect, but through the ups and downs, they had rediscovered what truly mattered: love, respect, and the willingness to grow together. Their story, once marked by a single moment of frustration, had become one of resilience, proving that even the toughest challenges could be overcome when faced with honesty, patience, and a shared commitment to change.